So I was asked to make a video. What would happen if America was hit with the EMP or a mass blackout? Before I get to that, I want to say thanks YouTube for age restricting two of my videos, which I already say that when I upload, I only want 18 and over to watch my videos. But you already censor me anyway, so who gives a shit? Um, and I don't want anyone under 18 watching my stuff anymore. I only want adults watching my stuff. So, um, first off, like here's some numbers. There's around 350 million Americans, give or take, uh, 20, 30 million. We don't know what the illegals and everything like that. And there's about 2.1 million police and military service people combined. Um, there's around 70 to 75 million men from age 18 to 55. So you can tell that the military or police would be ineffective, especially in the cities, um, because that's just too many people. They might be effective in small towns or rural areas, but the big cities, it'll be complete chaos. That's what I think would happen. First week, big cities, um, you would lose water pretty quickly. Running water, you would lose quickly. You'd lose sewage, and this would obviously happen in the rural areas as well, unless like you have a well or whatever. Um, but like a small town like mine, um, with like 10,000 people, I probably wouldn't make it anyway. But um, you would have that. You would have it would be like Grok says. It would be like kind of like Katrina. You know, look at that. That's how it would be like a hurricane coming, but it would be like on a massive scale. And I guess it would take like two EMPs to knock us all down. You can solar flares could do it as well, having a mass blackout. So week one, you would probably have anybody. So you would have all the non all the perishable food, the frozen and refrigerated food would go bad within a day. And the people who rely on insulin, they would die really quickly because they wouldn't have, unless they had generators, they wouldn't have any way to keep their medicine good. So it wouldn't last that long. So they would die pretty quickly, I would imagine. Um, now, if you lived in a cold area and you completely rely on like a furnace without any like a wood burning stove or something like that, and it's really really cold, you're probably gonna high chances of freezing to death. Um, if you're in a really hot area or it's that time of the year, it's really hot. Water is going to be crucial for you to survive. So if you don't have a stockpile of water, you're pretty much screwed. And how long would that last anyway? So um, it would be complete chaos. Not right away, probably. And it'll probably be. I would say in the cities, like big cities, it probably wouldn't develop into a Mad Max chaos within like a couple days. But if you don't have any power for a week, it's probably complete chaos at that point. Because I think a lot of people in cities, they don't really stock up food. They kind of eat out every day and they get their groceries every day or whatever. So if you don't have a stockpile of food, you're gonna not eat. And you know, I think within a couple weeks, people will start to turn to cannibalism. It might even be uh, a week. And if they don't have any water, they'll be looking for whatever kind of um, way to hydrate themselves, whether that's blood or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it would be pretty nasty in the cities. I would not want to be in a city. That would be the last place you want to be. Um, all the communications would break down. You wouldn't know what's going on. You'd be in complete darkness. It would be so dark. When it's dark out, it would be so dark. It would. I don't think that we understand how if there's like a light that we have shining off of our cities, and it kind of makes the stars not as bright. But if you go in the country, the stars are just like popping. They're not like that in the city. Um, it would be extremely dark. Go into the woods and you see how dark it is at night, and that's how it would be everywhere. I seen something like this. The power was out for about 12 hours in a big city. I was in about 3 years ago. Even the stoplights out. Everything was completely black. Everything in the city. And it was eerie. It was really crazy. Um, we had to stop like a stop sign for the stoplights. It was crazy. You would have traffic uh pileups everywhere. You probably won't even be able to get out of the city. You better evacuate the city like right away, or try to start walking out of the city. That's probably going to be your best bet. There'll probably be massive traffic trying to leave the cities. Um, but the gangs would take over because what, there's only 2.1 million military and police are, presence at that point. They're not going to be able to uh, corral 75 million men. Now, there's 350 million Americans, or 320 million Americans, or whatever. Um, but like that's with women too, and women are pretty much useless in that situation. So that's why I say like the men are most important, because like we're stronger, we're physically stronger, we can make decisions better. That's why we're on the front lines, not the women. um and that's what it would be. It would be brutal after a month. Like there will be a lot of people that die after a month, especially in the cities. In a small town or rural areas, you would be better off. And if you are in a small town, I would definitely, if that was to happen, go outside. I think that you don't have anything else to do anyway, so you better just go outside and start helping people. Help where you can. So then, like, especially like if you don't really know anyone in the community, maybe just moved there. Like I just moved into a small town about 6 months ago, over 6 months ago. I don't really know anybody. Well, I would, if there was a blackout, there's nothing else for me to do anyway. So I'm gonna go out and start talking to people and start trying to help people where I can help out. In the small towns, you'd be better off. You would still have death. I think Rock said about 90% of people in the cities would end up dying. I think it'd be a lot more than that, but um, the first month, that would be crucial. Um, but in the small towns, Grok said about 50 to 70% of people. It said 70 to 90% of people would die in the cities. I think it would be like 95%, honestly. Um, but in the small towns, i- you can work with farmers. You can be like basically an indentured servant. And some guy I used to work with said that he would lop off hit one of his limbs so he can get like a settlement for $2 million. And I'm like, I would not do that. This is why I wouldn't do that, because if something like that did happen, your money is going to be worthless. Um, It's going to be barter. It's not even going to be like silver, gold. Yeah, you can probably use that, but it'll probably be like goods, useful goods, bullets, food, water, stuff like that, the basics. Um, fuel would be, you wouldn't have fuel anymore like that. Everything would run out and the stores would be dried up. Just like a hurricane comes or whatever, or like um when the pandemic hit and everyone went to the store to get like toilet paper for whatever reason. They went to get toilet paper and they got other stuff, but it was like, why is toilet paper out? That's so weird. Why are you going after toilet paper, man? I understand, like, but it, like, I guess you can eat toilet paper, but I don't think it has much nutrients. I don't think it'll make you survive that long and probably give you worms. So it's just like I would rather get food and then just like use my clothes for toilet paper for like old clothes. Um, back in the Roman days, they all used like a sponge or like some kind of cloth on a stick that they all shared in a communal thing. That's how they used to do it. And it's disgusting, but like when you have hard times like that, like uh, back in the day, the diapers were just cloth. The women, they would wash the cloth diapers. They would reuse them and wash them. Like they wouldn't throw them out. This is a modern thing. Like the modern day diaper. It's a modern thing. They weren't always around. So a lot of things would just revert back to old times. And if you don't know how to live off of old times, which most of us don't, that's why I think that most of us would die. And most of us, and a lot of people would probably just like, just take their own life anyway, because they wouldn't, we're so domesticated and so institutionalized, we couldn't handle, like I wouldn't be able to handle. I might fare better than the average person, but I wouldn't be able to handle it. There's no way. Um, to go back into medieval times, basically, go back into like the 1700s overnight. I mean, I can work my way into that, but like just to go into that overnight, you know, would be, it just wouldn't happen. So I would probably end up, you would have a lot of gangs taking over. You'd have a Mad Max situation. You wouldn't want to be in the cities. Cities would be absolutely horrendous. Um, and I'm not saying that small towns would like be great. It would be better than the city because in the city, everyone's about themselves, right? Um, but when you're in a smaller town, there's more of a community development. There's more of a networking. People know each other more than they do in the city. So like it would just be a free for all in the cities compared to smaller towns. I wouldn't even being in a small town. I probably wouldn't even survive anyway. But um, there would be a lot of famine, and also too. The reason why I think that an EMP would be highly unlikely, because even if a country was to do that, let's just say China or Russia was to do that, we would retaliate right away. So they would get hit with nukes, or EMPs themselves, and economically the whole world would go through some type of 2008 recession, depression type of, probably a depression to be honest. It'd probably be like a 1929 depression worldwide. So it would take many years to recover. And yeah, China might end up being the world power again, or again, they might be end up being the world power, but that would take like 20 to 50 years for them to completely recover. I don't know if we had something like that we could ever recover. And like I said, they would get hit too. So if America got hit with the EMP, I think that they would just attack everybody. I think they would just send nukes to everybody. Um, so I think it's highly unlikely we'll get hit with an EMP. It's more likely we would get hit with like some type of solar storm that knocks out our power grid. Um, but the pole shift is even scarier, and that's something that people should look into. If we have a dramatic pole shift, that's going to be catastrophic for the whole world, where basically, uh, North Pole, South Pole, and then all of a sudden, like, it goes like this. And then now, you know, everything that's like this, like in the equator, basically becomes North and South Pole. That would be, that would be devastating. And I don't, I, I don't think there would be any recovering after that. I think that would be complete, uh, unless like you're in a bunker, or you're away from large bodies of water, uh, and you're like hunkered down. I don't even know. I don't know. I think there'd be a lot of weather problems too, as maybe the magnetic shift of the Earth. And that could happen. Some people are saying that could happen. Some people are saying, that super volcano in Yosemite has interrupted for we're overdue by like thousands of years for an eruption. So that's something that's worried me. And, if you look at the fault lines, you look at the it goes all the way around, all the way from China, all the way up to Russia, all the way to Alaska, all the way down to California, through Mexico. It's a massive fault line. That would probably go off too. So I think that the map would change dramatically. I think we'd have the map as we see it would be, we would probably see, large masses of, land fall into the ocean, but you might see other land pop up as well. I don't know. I forgot what that was called, but yeah, it would be, you would fare better in a smaller town if some type of power grid blackout that was longer than a few weeks. In the cities, you're pretty much done, and it's crazy. It's crazy, and I don't know. So if you're a Christian, that would be like the pole shifts. If the Revelation talks about something like kind of like a pole shift sounding like, where I think it said 2/3 of humanity would die from a giant earthquake, and I think that giant earthquake would be basically some type of pole shift. But I mean, these it would cause massive waves. So if anyone that lived by the coast, you would have like 100 foot, 200 foot, maybe 1,000 foot tidal waves come in. You would just see it coming, and then once you would be dead instantaneously with all that weight coming down on you. But I think an EMP is really unlikely. I really do. I don't think that they're dumb enough to do that. I don't think, because they would. It's just like sending, like nuking us. If you nuke us, we're gonna nuke you back. We have technology all over the world, and we have, nuclear subs. We can launch nukes. That's, if they hit our grid, they have, our government has strategic plans for something like that. Trust me. Like they would instantaneously retaliate on whoever, or just go just you're all done, I guess. I don't think they would hit everybody. I think they would hit probably China, and they would hit Russia. They would probably hit those two, because those would be like the most likely places that even have that type of technology that would even be able to hit us. You need a nuke. I think, like, I basically, you need a nuke that detonates. Not when it hits, it doesn't hit the ground. It detonates in the air, causing that boom. Um, Not a lot of countries have that type of sophisticated technology to even hit us. It's more likely, unless like China or Russia hits us with a missile, that it's like somebody, you know, hitting us with a nuke with like a suitcase or something like that. Like, think of the Boston Marathon bomber, how he had a pressure cooker, and he blew up marathon people for no reason. It would be something like that for like some type of nuke, or a biological weapon, and that's probably more likely. And that's even scarier, that somebody, we've already seen it in 2020. So we've already seen the biological, and we funded it. So we funded it, and who knows who else could be making something in their own basement somewhere and then escapes. Like, that would be probably more likely, in my estimate, would be some type of biological attack. And it might not even be from like a big country. It could just be from some you know random bitter person who's pissed off at the world, and he just doesn't care, or it just goes wrong, like he's messing around, or something that we're invested in just escapes, and that's that. But I don't know, it wouldn't be good. I don't know if we would ever recover. At some point, I think that America would. This is even if like the current regime collapses and like we all die, this is prime land. If it stays like this for the next 100 years or whatever, this is prime land. We have big oceans on each side of us. We have all types of like climate. You got a cold climate. We got deserts. We got mountains. We got everything here. So like, at some point, this place would be built up again. But yeah.